what's the problem? Because, usually she sails through school.
Well, Eleanor wrote her life story, and she's quite insistent that it's true. I don't expect you to be flattered by this, but in it she describes you as a sucreant, which I believe is a sort of vampire.
Well, she has got a great imagination. Hope she gets top marks. Who else has read it?
You have sole care of her, don't you?
That boy Frank. Bet he's read it.
Quite a responsibility for somebody so young.
I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
So, I shoot the bastard ribbon and I need the map, and then what?
Well, it ends, she doesn't say, does she?
That's because I never told her.
Should we arrange them all?
I saw that Riven wasn't dead. I should have killed him then, but I had mercy on the cunt. Now, hold that thought, because I'll tell you what he did. But first, shall I tell you what it was like for me?
Okay, yeah.
It was wonderful. I had eyes that cut through lies, lungs that breathed eternity. I felt I'd lived my whole wretched life just to prepare me for that moment.
I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Doors. Prepare for Prattle.
Choose a side in a Clone Wars.
Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan. And in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Clone Wars, where two similar pieces of media clash to be crowned champion. Two go in, and only one comes out. Finally, the podcast that everyone has been waiting for 6 months. Forever, a year. I don't know how long we had this booked in, planned. Things happen, timing, internet, whatever. Busy lives. We're here right now. It feels like forever, but not as long as these characters have been alive. So we are here with two of my very favorite guests, who I have an undying love for and respect and admiration. And we are here to talk with Ria Carrogan.
Hello. I am more enthusiastic about being here than I sound. I have a cold, so if you just get occasional grunts from me, they're excited ones.
Excitable grunts.
It's also because I can't breathe. So, But so far, I'm loving the puns. Two of my favourite people here that to podcast with, and everybody else. I love you all. But yes. I feel like the three of us have fantastic times in chemistry. I'm making it sound like I'm trying to date you both. Let's move on.
Hey,
it's talk about excited grunts.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. Happy, excited grunts. And Tonya Todd is with us again as well. It's been a little while since we've all been back together, but you have been on the podcast separately. So this is going to be all types of magical. Tonya, how have you been? You good?
Meow. I am very glad to be back with both of you. I think it was the Crow last time, so we were talking sexy things then too.
Yes, it was. You know what? I actually forgot about that one. I was like, oh yeah, it's like coffee and Pangria, and I was like, no, Tonya knows my podcast better than I do, which is unsurprising. So we've talked about vampires a little bit in the past year. We talked about possible other couple of films that we've not done that I probably did previously announce. Maybe I can't remember. But we're here today to talk about two that I suggested and floated because Tonya said I can't do any more vampire things without her being involved. So I put a pin in that until it's the rule. It's the new rule, and I don't want to be punished. So with all those happy grunts. We'll see how many happy grunts we get out of each other. So we're here to talk about two vampire films, very different yet very similar at the same time. We're going to look at Byzantium, directed by Neil Jordan of Interview with a Vampire fame as well. And we're going to look at Only Lovers Left Alive by Jim Jarmusch. Jarmusch, can you do the fandango? We have to crack on. So we've got a limited amount of time, so I don't want to waste the listeners' time or our time. It's precious. Everybody's time is precious. So I'll just crack on with the reason.
Unless you're a vampire.
I mean,
True.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tonya Ria is at this point. I think, I'm almost certain on some level she must be vampiric, but I don't want to suck away all the time she has. Okay, because she has
a funny guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really. Have you got them all written down, Dan?
No. I don't.
No, this is natural,
off
baby.
This is off the cuff, improvisational comedy. Well, we'll see.
And the Oscar for best pun goes to.
Oh God! If they only, I might actually watch the Oscars if they did that kind of category or some of those categories.
Maybe it should be a Nobel Prize.
Maybe you should write Will Livingston's Volume 3 pun book.
Of course.
Last of Us content there, everyone. See it fell on. Everybody enjoyed that.
I got it.
Nobody cares about it as much as you do.
I got the reference, even though.
By the way, Ria, next time you have a cold on a podcast, don't apologize. Don't apologize in that sense. Apologize because you're British, but you could just explain that you sound like this because you're very British.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'll do that in the future. Yeah, love it.
Very haughty.
You could just say, I'm trying out a new voice. I'm trying out a sexy, raspy voice.
I just really wouldn't go that far.
About anything.
I've got the cold British veneer.
This is how difficult it's going to be for me to stay on time.
Yeah,
that we've
sorry.
Required.
Right. Ask a question. Dan,
and I was going to say, actually, we're talking about 2 vampire films, and I do feel like from now on we should just do vampire content.
We can do. I've got a lot of vampire content in the back catalogue, ready to go. So absolutely, we can do that.
It's quite limiting, but
it is not.
Yeah, it's quite it is quite varied. It's quite a varied kind of genre and topic.
Someone asked me if you could choose any topic to have your own podcast that you could just go crazy with, what would it be? And it would definitely be vampire content. I have so many things that I would discuss, but I don't have the time to produce a podcast. So if you're inviting me to come here and talk about this topic and you'll do all the work, I'm here.
Yes, I will do. Most of the work, most of the heavy lifting. I think that's what Ria asked for because she's not been very well. But I'm going to go over these reasons for comparison because we won't if we go on another tangent. Reasons for comparison, you guys can add your own, but these are the ones I've come up with. I'm sure we'll talk about more going through. So both films were released within a year of each other. Both films feature 2 vampire leads who share an undying love that has lasted through the centuries. Both films feature a younger, pale, blonde vampire making things difficult for their elder relative. Both films have links to Byron's The Vampire with an E and a Y. Both films explore the existential plight of being immortal. Both films feature critique of the history of humankind. Both films feature vampires employing humans as familiars. Both set in destitute or deprived locations. And both have very similar indie film budgets. Any others you guys can think of? Throw them in there.
That was an excellent list.
Oh, why thank you.
When you suggested these 2 films, it was like, only 2 of my favorite vampire films ever. Sure.
Yeah, whatever. We'll talk about them. Maybe one of them is better.
You break it down like that, they didn't feel that similar to me when you asked. I didn't know the budgets, didn't realize when they were released. All of those little, I may have noticed some of the internal qualities, the storylines and the characters, but that's an extensive list that I think it really captures the essence of this show. Well done.
Not my first rodeo. These ones tend to come up more often than most, and it's just my eye for detail. But let's start talking about them. So Byzantium came out first. So who wants to talk about Byzantium? Maybe Ria could possibly give us a synopsis.
Oh, why? I knew you were going to do that because you're not going to ask Tonya to make me do it.
Oh, wait.
If you are so keen on details, you would know that neither one of us likes.
I know, but we've had enough happy grunts. I want some unhappy grunts.
You should let us be prepared, especially when we watched these movies a long time ago and someone.
Oh, I'm sorry. You've not had like 2 months, maybe longer for preparation. I'm so sorry. I didn't give you more time.
We were prepared last month when we were going to do this, but don't you have it right in front of you?
Oh, maybe. No,
I'll give Byzantium a go. I'll give it a go.
Go on.
Ooh, okay, it's not going to be a Ria ramble.
I'll be honest. I am always here for Ria synopses of anything. So it's my
one
treat.
of the few people, Dan. So Byzantium, we follow the story of a mother-daughter vampire pair. The daughter is Eleanor, the mother is Clara, and basically they're just trying to find a safe place to exist, to live out the rest of their days. They have to leave where they are due to what seems like a shady vampire hunty group coming after them. They go back to a seaside town that has lots of old memories for them both. They start to relive that. Eleanor meets a young man who's very annoying.
We'll get into that.
Falls in love. Clara starts a brothel. And all the while we start learning their backstory, how they came to be, who they are, the pain and tragedy they've been through that forms who they are in their vampire forms. Now, it's a story of love, not just romantic love, but the love between a parent and a child, of fleeting love that turns sour, but then you can find it again. It's a story of friendship, of trying to find people that you can trust to bring in your world. It's a story about telling stories, gets to the end, lots of shenanigans happening, and Eleanor's she's like that whole Twilight thing. Oh, we can't have children vampires. So they're trying to kill her. They're trying to kill Clara because the patriarchy, because of course vampires, part of the fucking patriarchy, of course they are. They don't want women, especially women who apparently don't have any skills or intelligence. Clara has a lot of that, by the way, in their special little club. Oh, special little club. Gatekeepers, a vampire, patriarchal gatekeepers. Fuck off. Wow, it's going well, this synopsis. But of course, because Clara
is why it needed to be you.
Clara's amazing. She messes up some fellas. Sam Riley, randomly, it's not what his character's called, can't remember what his character's called. Let's call him Sam Riley. Comes in, goes, actually, you're pretty awesome. You remember how I used to be in love with you? Hey, let's go make a life together. And Clara sets Eleanor free. This was a terrible synopsis. Once again, nobody knows what happened in this film. Just go watch the film and then come back. Yeah,
exactly. Go watch both films and then come back. You'll appreciate it a bit more and enjoy it a bit more. But yeah. I thought that was an epic synopsis. So I really appreciate that you did that. I'll do the next one. Don't worry. I'll do the next
I just learnt the patriarchal vampire group's called the Brethren. Of course, because they can't come up with anything more original.
Oh, religious patriarchy. Yeah, it's never particularly a good thing, is it? Tonya, why don't we get your thoughts on this film? You said earlier it's one of your favorite vampire films. Why is that?
It was unexpectedly amazing. I had heard about it. Someone, I think, loaned it to me, and I didn't know the plot at all. So it's like, all right, let's see. Is this going to be cheesy? And I'm watching, and I just fell in love with her. I fell in love with Clara. She is phenomenal. And I think that this is her best movie. I think that Gemma Arterton, I've never seen her perform like this. She gave it her absolute all. She did not take this like, oh, this is a genre film, so I'm going to play it like this. This was an Oscar-worthy performance. The scene where she gets that phone call and she goes after her daughter. Have you ever seen a mother more ferocious and fierce and loving and she was just spectacular in that. I was moved by the way she was screaming and running. I'm wondering if she needed recovery time after filming that. It was so physical and so visceral. I don't know. I just absolutely loved the passion involved in this. And it's kind of a different take on vampires. It's not about being bitten. Like the way that they kill and the way that they become vampires, it's a new twist on it, and I really enjoyed that.
And there's something really special about Clara and Gemma Arterton's performance of her, she is quite unlikable, but also really likable at the same time. It's not the word I was originally going to use, but I lost my thoughts. And I think
which one are you saying is likable?
Well, Clara, I think she's unlikable, but you like her. So
why,
I think
why do you think she's unlikable?
Because I think she falls into that category of a complex character that doesn't always make the right decisions, that she sort of is quite selfish for herself, which, by the way, I think is valid considering her life. But she also, she doesn't think, she's not a planner. She doesn't think things through. Not that these things make you unlikable, but she's very me and mine. We would normally, because she's a mother character, we would normally get to see her being a mother. She's a different take on a mother, and for an on-screen mother, that is considered unlikable. She is somebody who you might see in the street and should be yelling at somebody for no apparent reason, and you're kind of like, oh, whoa. Which, by the way, is my kind of lady. We all know how I feel about, in quotes, difficult women. She is a difficult woman. The brethren don't like her because she is a difficult woman. And I think it's so fantastic to see that and see how Gemma Arterton does that. And she brings out a real nuance to a character that could be really two-dimensional. I think the way this film is written could be transferred to the screen in a way that isn't as successful as it is. And a lot of it comes from the performances of the lead actors.
See, I never felt she was unlikable. I didn't agree with some of her choices, but I understood them. She was forced into a corner so many times, and she, there's the fight or flee thing. She's a fighter. She is fierce. And the reason she is so me-focused is because there's never been anyone else taking care of her. She has to fight like that. She has to think of herself, or she'd be dead by now. And the choices that she makes for her daughter, I feel, okay, they don't feel motherly or nurturing, but they are to protect her.
I think they are. I think that's what's interesting. I think she does things that aren't very nice. She takes advantage of other people because she's been taken advantage of since we've seen her as a teenager. This is what she has. So this is only what she knows, and that's why she does it. When she moves into that guy's hotel bed and breakfast or whatever,
but she doesn't mean any harm. She's using him, sure, but she's not doing it in a way that intends harm to him.
But if it's not an equal relationship, then kind of like it doesn't matter if you intend harm or not. She's still being a madam. She's still, taking advantage of young women who have nowhere to go. But she's
providing for her child.
It's all a way of showing that she is having to take advantage of what the world has given her, that she could be so much more. If somebody saw, people around Eleanor think she's fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody sees her intelligence, her softer side, her empathy. And if somebody had, where she got that from somebody who's fought from her from day one. If somebody had just shown Clara just a minuscule amount of what she's doing for Eleanor, think of what Clara could achieve. She would be running this whole bloody world. That's what's so interesting, that it's these female characters, these women who are just trying to do. Well, Clara specifically is trying to do what she can to survive in what is already a patriarchal society, made more so by the fact of this stupid brethren who I hate, such gatekeepers. And that's why I don't think unlikable. I do think she's partly unlikable, but I think she's the definition of what men and our society would call a difficult woman. And again, there's definitely nothing wrong with being a difficult woman.
No. I will go back and say I would very happily be taken advantage of by Gemma Arterton.
Oh my God, wouldn't we all?
Any day of the week.
I would in normal life, let alone of her as Clara. Like, good Lord.
I mean,
obviously Gemma Arterton is a beautiful woman. Absolutely. But as Tonya was saying about her just now, there's just something about her. She's magnetic. She's, you cannot take your eyes off her on the screen. And it's not just because, they put her in low cut tops and stuff like that. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I did feel like a lot of the time I was like, when we had this kind of, generic vampire love story going on as a kind of side plot, I was like, get back to Gemma Arterton, please, as soon as possible. Just anything to do with her, any kind of scene with her, like that scene where she's threatening the school teacher, I think was fantastic as well. So intense, on the edge of your seat, just wondering how she's going to do this. And again, we want that story revealed. She was like, I didn't tell her the whole story, but I'll tell you. And he's like, almost, he knows he's not getting out of this alive. But
yeah, I love that scene. She was just fantastic there, where you're like, yes, this is exactly what happens. This is why she was trying to, this is what she was trying to prevent. But you know what? I'm not going to let you hurt my kid. And if that means I'm going to murder you right here, that's what's going to happen. Be afraid when someone is asking you, who else knows?
And that's it. He's supposed to be a good guy, right? We see him as a good guy, but actually, and that's what's so interesting, he's not in this scenario because he is threatening their lives more than he even realizes.
She will kill anyone to protect her child, period. And the thing that you were saying about her being magnetic, I feel like there was a line at the beginning when she got fired. Did he say she was morbidly sexy?
Oh, yes. I love that.
Is that line. What it was?
Yeah,
it was such a good line.
I laughed because I thought that's a cracking line. And I think that's.
If I remember correctly, it's like someone's like, why did you hire her? I told you she was going to be trouble. She was morbidly sexy. And she is.
I mean, how many films have we seen that explore death and sex and how many David Cronenberg films does he that's just his thing. That's his bag. He's like, more of this, sex, disease, death, all of that, mix it in together. And I think it's always
her first kill in the film. It's like, yes, I love you. I'm yours. Take me.
And again, I like coming into this film. I've seen the trailer and I was like, okay, we'll see what this is like. But that is about as fucking metal as it fucking gets for killing somebody in a film. And I was like, this little indie film. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll probably get a few little bites and things and stuff like that. But she was just like, she.
And it's not just the physicality of it; it's all her words leading up to it, pretending like she's just this little girl. You caught me. I have no power here.
I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to look after you. And he's like,
"May I get you a drink?"
Yeah, he says like, "Oh, we need to kill your daughter. She's an aberration." And he's like, "I don't know what that is, sir. Can you explain it to me again?"
Right. Math is hard.
And then obviously she's putting. He's like, he is a great line where he goes, "After all this time, you've learned nothing."
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll show you.
Because of course he thinks that.
Yeah.
Of course he thinks that. Like, and that's the thing. I love how she just takes advantage of men. Just like when she's at the beginning.
So easy.
Well, that's it. At the beginning, when she's stripping and she's stealing stuff from him, she's done that so much. She just happened to get caught this one time, but then immediately turns it around that he hit her. He gets chucked out. Like, he gets told he's never coming back to the club. And then it's, when it's the guy at the fairground and he needs prostitutes and she goes up to him and then she's like, he's a useless sack of shit. I'm going to steal all of these girls from him. Like, because just everybody constantly underestimates her. And I love that. And she plays that to her advantage, but she's also always got the upper hand. Like, I even feel about the end. Like, she's so panicked and scared. And then when I'm going to have to remember Sam Riley's character name because I'm going to keep.
I've got it here somewhere, so I'll.
And then
grab that.
I feel at the end when he's something like, "Oh, but I did always love you from those years ago, but I just got so caught up in the patriarchy." And she's like, yeah, let's go on an adventure together. I'm also like, dude, you've got no idea what shit you're about to get into. Like, you're now like a little puppy dog, and you were about to get in loads of shenanigans.
I can't blame you for forgetting, because so did I. It was Darvel.
Oh.
That's right.
Very memorable name. I thought it was really interesting, the idea that her reproductive rights were taken away from her by the patriarchy, because they said, well, women can't be vampires. And again, if we were to make vampires, there would have to be somebody who was educated from nobility or higher class or higher standard, quote unquote standard. All right, we'll let you exist. We'll allow you to be, but just don't make anybody into a vampire. And then she does. And it's interesting as well because you were saying, Tonya, about this way of becoming a vampire, there's kind of a temple of some kind that they go in, they see themselves, they showcase, and their mirror self attacks them, and then they are this blood fountain waterfall kind of comes over them. And it's really interesting to see the male's reactions to being turned is quite like, I'm a monster, I'm a beast, I hate myself, I'm a killer, I'm a murderer. But to see Gemma Arterton, when she turns, it is the most joyous moment of her life.
This is what I was meant to be, It took her no time to adjust. And it wasn't like, okay, someone just got their superpowers and they understand it too well. That story trope that bothers me so much. It was more like, I am in my own skin.
And the lead up to it's so interesting as well. So, because in the story, obviously, we've got that horrible captain guy, Johnny Lee Miller, picks her up from the beach, basically takes her to a brothel, rapes her, gives her horrendous diseases, passes her around people. Like, the way she's treated is absolutely horrendous. And then he has so little respect for her and for women, as does Darvel, even though, he saw her first on the beach and all of this sort of stuff. But it's like, I'm not good enough for you, all this sort of rubbish. That they talk about the entire plan in front of her.
Like she's
never
not
assuming, it's like she's not there, never assuming that she would understand it or undertake the transformation into becoming a vampire. And I love that. I love that she's just, to them, she's nothing, but to us as the viewer, we know differently. We know exactly what's going on here and what's going to happen. And she does not hold back at all. Like, exactly what you said when the men going to it, they're weak. They're so weak and scared in the run up to it. And then afterwards, and she just dives off. And she's just like, yep, I was always going to get here. I was always going to do this. And now I'm going to embrace who I am.
That scene right there is why I think Darvel is not worthy of her.
I agree.
Like, why the hell are you giving this gift to this vile, disgusting creature who left you for dead, by the way?
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve this gift.
Yeah, like
he has a penis, so...
money, I think he has money as well, doesn't it? Of course, the brethren.
But he has his money.
Yeah, true. True.
And left him for dead. But he's like, but even still, you're a piece of shit, rapist, horrible. He said to Gemma Arterton, Clara's character, don't go with him. Just please don't go with him. He's horrible. And then he still comes back and goes, you're better than an innocent woman for this gift. You, the most despicable, horrible character.
Right. I'm not here for revenge. Well, why the hell not?
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't make much sense to me, that. But I will say, I think Johnny Lee Miller is also one of the best performances in this, because he
did a great job.
You despise him
so much. I hate him so much. It's great.
Horrific, horrible. Like there's no moment where you're like, oh, I can see why he did that, or I can, you can understand why Clara does the things she does, even if they are like, very, horrible murders and all this sort of stuff. You kind of go, yeah, that makes sense. We can see why she would do that or make those decisions. Him is just like, I'm a piece of shit, and I'm going to continue being a piece of shit until I'm full of diseases. Yeah, it's just one horrible thing he does after another, really. So
he tries to rape his own daughter.
Is it implied to be his daughter? Is she implied to be his daughter?
I mean, yes, it is. And he does rape her.
He does rape her. Yeah, I realized I said tries, and he does.
Yeah, he was successful, but
for the purpose of giving her a disease.
Yeah, but he's already given her mother.
Right, but because she is a prostitute, it's it's hard to tell who the father is.
Can we talk about the boyfriend in this? I'm familiar with the actor because I remember not liking him in something else. I went to see X-Men First Class, and I knew for a fact, like, one of my favorite X-Men was going to be in that. Banshee, who in the comics is this older, kind of former Interpol agent who has mutant abilities that allows him to scream and fly. And I was like, oh, amazing. We're going to see Banshee on screen for the very first time. Excellent. He's going to be represented. And they cast this actor. And
I forgot that was him.
That's him. And and he's like, he walks up to a girl in an aquarium and goes, hey, you want to go for a drink? Get a drink, go out. And then she turns him down, which is understandable because he's awful. And
she probably couldn't understand a thing he said.
No, and it just comes across creepy and weird and odd. I think he's in Get Out as well. I think he's the brother. He's
the brother in Get Out. Yeah, which he's great in. He's great in Get Out.
Yeah,
but
very minimal use of him. Which is
he's also in 3 Billboards, which I hate.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think 3 Billboards is a terrible, terrible film. But
that's for another podcast, Ria. Yeah. We don't have the time.
Yes, she's creating questions like why? In 3 points, what do you dislike about it?
I don't know if I can do it in
3 billboards. In 3 billboards, what do you not like?
I think it has absolutely no subtlety. I think that a good thing is I think Frances McDormand is obviously absolutely amazing because she's amazing in absolutely everything. But yeah, I think it completely lacks any subtlety or nuance. I think it's so busy trying to bang you over the head with a message that it actually doesn't tell a very interesting story. And that's the other main point. I just don't think it's very interesting. And I just think it's like, I saw it as well. That was a whole, this is going to sound terrible, but it was a whole evening of disappointment because we were going for sushi, but I'd found out earlier in the day I was pregnant, so I couldn't eat any sushi. So I was grumpy because I was also feeling terrible.
What a day of disappointment.
And I was like, but it's okay because we're going to go and see a film with because I was like, this is very exciting, but also I can't eat any sushi. It's terribly annoying. But it's great because we're going to see an Oscar-nominated film with Frances McDormand, and we watched the Oscar-nominated Best Pictures every year. So it's like, it's great. I'll eat some sweets. It'll be fantastic. And then I sat through the film and I was like, holy shit. Not only did I not get sushi, but I got to watch this rubbish. It's lucky that I'm pregnant because it's something to go home and be happy about.
This podcast is now going to be, this is memorialized, and MJ's going to listen to it one day and she's going to go, I was a disappointment. I wasn't even born.
Sounds about right.
No, she knows she's never a disappointment.
Not that she's a
every single
you
day
would say
that. I love her.
Of course.
And besides, you were saying it was disappointing because you go up and then down.
Exactly.
Yes.
Plus, she loves sushi, so she would understand the disappointment of not being able to eat sushi because it's like one of her favorite foods. So she would just be like, "You weren't able to eat sushi?" I'd be like, "I know."
Anyway, another tangent we don't have time for. But yes, I felt this love story had potential. I like the idea that he's was he a hemophiliac? Is that what he was? Or yeah. So he's, it doesn't he can't scab over. I can't remember the word for it now. When he cuts himself. So I don't know what accent he's doing again. I don't know where he's from. I couldn't tell you. He's not from wherever the location is. It's horrific. I also can't tell. I also can't tell what he's saying most of the time. So I'm very much like I come from a theatre background, and obviously, as we know, but some new listeners may not know. And one of the first lessons I learned was if the audience can't hear you or understand you, they're going to tune out and they're going to think it's a shit play. So make sure you are heard and you are clear and you are concise and you enunciate and make sure you are understood. We're not from the school of Brando. We're not from the school of James Dean, as good as they are. That's not what we do. This is what we do. So anytime I see something like that, I'm like, where did you train? I trained in Preston, and I still think I got a better education than he did in regards to acting. Yes, and I think the love story could have had something there if maybe they didn't cast him.
I will agree with that. He was a huge disappointment. I did not like his character. I don't think he's worthy of Eleanor. I don't think he's worthy of all the things that happen as a result of him being part of it. So here's another comparison between the two films. The young, fair-haired arrival just ruins everything for the people that we love.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get into that one as well, because yeah, that's another somewhat annoying character, but that's
like, this is the reason people dislike gingers, you know?
Oh,
this film, this is the film. This is the film.
Right.
They went. You know,
I didn't get it before this film, but now, okay, if this was your only experience, then yeah, I can see how you would judge an entire group of people.
I didn't.
This awful person.
Tonya, how did you get so prejudiced?
Oh, I don't know. I live in America.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair point.
I don't have a problem with gingers, but I realize that a lot of people do. It's a weird thing. Like, wow, why are you hating on gingers? Well, now I know.
It's because they're like cool. It's like ginger hair is cool and people are jealous. That's why.
Redheads. I like redheads.
Redheads. When I was little, all the little girls wanted to be blonde, and I just wanted to be a redhead because I was like, how awesome is that? That is your hair color. That's amazing. Caleb Landry Jones ruining it for all the redheads.
You've ruined it. You've cast a horrible swath against your own people, your entirety of your people. Again, apologies to all the redheads and gingers out there. There is no
this
prejudice.
Isn't our opinion.
No, this is a
people who dislike it.
Sure, it's an opinion a lot of people have. We'll say that.
I mean, should we be apologizing to him? Because we are ragging.
I mean, we're ragging on him because he's a shit actor, not because he's ginger specifically.
I mean, have you seen his entire body of work? Because
I've never been impressed.
So somebody like Natalie Portman is technically a fantastic actress, but you give her a terrible director and she is not. Some people, Scarlett Johansson is the same. Like, give her a good director, she is fantastic. Give her a mediocre director, and you're like, whew, wow, how did you get any star power? Like, I think actors do suffer from bad directors.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I have.
Think of him being applauded for any role
purely because he's ginger.
No,
gingers are known for their poor acting skills.
Stop.
It's all right. We know where you stand.
I have a crush on Jessica Chastain. That's a hot.
I mean, everyone has a crush on her. She is the most fantastic.
But that was the only bearable part of The Help. Just who is that?
Yeah, she's so good in that film.
That was my introduction to her, and it was. I'm not listening anymore to anything else. I am just watching her.
Focus.
Would it be weird if we just did a list of hot redheads? We don't have time. Let's move on.
We don't have time. But again, if you want to go down a specific route of podcasting, we could do films with redheads or
objectify redheads.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. Actually, let's not.
Yeah, let's not do that.
We're getting ourselves in lots of tricky situations.
We're getting ourselves in a lot of trouble. Why
did you bring up redheads?
Right. Is there anything else we want to say about this particular film before we move on to Only Lovers Left Alive? Because we still need to compare the two as well.
I enjoyed the violence.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Good violence, good blood. A-okay. I don't know where that was going.
Ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, love it.
Interesting fact about the film we're about to discuss is that Jim Jarmusch was asked to put more action in the next film, in Only Lovers Left Alive, and his response was like, well, I'm taking it all out. If you want more, I'm going to take all of it out. You're not getting any of that. So
it's a different type of film. I mean,
yes,
I would say that Byzantium is more of a genre film, like a genre specific film, where in Only Lovers Left Alive, they happen to be vampires, and this is what happens because they are vampires. But I wouldn't say it's a traditional vampire film.
I think Only Lovers Left Alive would still work if it was about heroin instead of blood.
It would. That's what I'm saying. It's really about two people who are in love and the problems that they face.
Well, Tonya, you're halfway through a synopsis, so you might as well just do it.
Nice try. I'll mute and listen to your real synopsis.
Okay, my real synopsis is two vampire lovers are separated a distance apart, large distance. One is in Tangier, one is in Detroit. One is a kind of aging, kind of depressed rock star, and the other is Tilda Swinton. Is the only other way I can describe them, because Tilda Swinton is a completely unique individual. There's no comparisons to be made, and they love each other. They have friends and kind of links to the world, but they're still kind of separate from it as well, being vampires. However, they still very, very much love each other, even with their own things going on, and they're brought back together. They visit each other, and basically we see their life unfold, or what would be some kind of normal days in their life. It is a bit more of an indie film, what I would consider an indie film when I'm looking for an indie film, like a Wes Anderson type. It's a little bit off kilter, a little bit odd, a bit unusual, but still ticks all the boxes that you need. But I wouldn't say it really has a plot. It's kind of just a sequence of things happening in their kind of daily routine or yearly routine, however long the space of the film lasts.
The literary fiction of vampire films.
So what do we think of this one? So Tonya, you go first. You were already speaking beautifully about the film, so please carry on.
Even though technically it's not an action-driven film, a plot-driven film, the characters are enthralling. I love this film. I love the mood, the music, the atmosphere. You look at this and you're like, yes, this is my life right here. This is how it is. It doesn't feel like some big fantasy film like Byzantium. It feels like the way life is. You absolutely see yourself in it. And I'm a bit biased because I could not see this film in Las Vegas on the big screen. So I had to go to a theater in LA to watch it. And when I got there was this giant poster of Gugu Mbatha from her performance in Belle. Belle is about Dido Elizabeth Bell, who was a lady of biracial background years ago. And she's wearing this beautiful dress. And I just looking at her and I was just, that's me. I've never seen this. Like I didn't know about her. I have been looking for this my entire life and I didn't see her. I didn't know her. It was the first time I found myself in one of these stories. And so I know that it has absolutely nothing to do with the plot of this film, but I will be eternally grateful that it drew me to this place because I may not have known about the film Belle otherwise.
Wish you hadn't brought it up, Tonya, because now I want to talk about that. And I really have to stop myself then. Could you tell
Ria,
we'll talk about it on Femme on Film.
Oh my God, I would love that, Tonya. And what a beautiful thing for you to say. I felt really emotional when you were saying that. And I wasn't going to start talking about this to make it about me, but I just wanted to say that Belle is just so good. People go and watch it. Like, what a wonderful thing to see yourself like that. And not only to see yourself in like a giant poster, giant graphic, but then going to see what is genuinely an amazing film and the story of Belle and seeing yourself in that. That was like, let's talk about it for Femme.
Yes,
I'll probably cry. I'm so sorry.
Left Alive is a better film. Like I like Only Lovers Left Alive better than I like the film Belle, but I needed that film.
Yeah,
I needed that film in my life. I needed to know about her. So I'm grateful. It's a bonus for Only Lovers Left Alive. But on its own, it's just gorgeous and sexy and so seductive. How do you not want to be with these characters?
I think this is the first time I've looked at Tom Hiddleston and gone, I kind of see it now.
Kind of
see it now. Well, I'm not that way inclined, so I can't go like, yes.
I think he has that kind of superpower that, now you are.
I'll be honest, I think because I know him most as Loki, and that's not my favorite interpretation of the character. I like him as an actor. I think he's very strong. But I think I've not always kind of understood the kind of the fangirling aspect of Loki that
it's the Byron-esque aspect, and he is playing the hell out of Adam in that way.
Yes, he is that. I can see it. And even Tilda Swinton, I was like, you know what? Yeah.
I love Tilda Swinton so much.
She is sunshine. She's a sunshine vampire.
She's so, everything she's in is sensational, but in this film, she is. It's hard to say that there's a best Tilda Swinton performance, because I don't think that's possible. And she's so many different things in so many different films. And then there's the real life Tilda Swinton. You're just like, oh my God. Why aren't you my best friend? But this is our favourite performance of hers. I think she's just, it's the same as Gemma Arterton when she's on screen. And I think, although Tom Hiddleston is fantastic in this film, I think he suffers in comparison, which is ridiculous, because this is actually probably my favourite Tom Hiddleston performance as well, because I'm quite hot and cold on him. I think he's a very good actor, but I think he only like thrives in quite particular films, and he's fantastic in this. But if this was just, this film's 2 hours. First of all, this film feels like it's 45 minutes long. It got to the end and I was like, oh,
you're like,
what?
Wait, I want more. Wait, what
I was
happens
like, how?
next?
Yeah, I was like, how is this the end?
More.
But she's just like, sunshine's the right word. She's luminous, right? She's so sensational in this film that I've lost words.
Is sunshine a good thing for me? I don't generally love the sun, but she is sunshine in this, and it's attractive.
Finally,
her sunshine.
Finally, we get a film that gives gingers a good name. Finally, a performance, a character, a person. Finally, we can go, no, we forgive you, and all the other stuff that's come before. No, I thought she was great, and she's so warm, and it's very different from like Gemma Arterton's character, like almost the complete opposite, yet the same as well. Like Tom Hiddleston's character.
It's like she's had more privilege in her life than Clara, though.
Yeah,
she's had more opportunities. She didn't have to resort to certain things.
Exactly, and look how they feed. Feed so different. It's a whole process. It's laying it all out. It's choosing the best blood that you want. It's choosing your variety, your flavors, the spice, smell it. It's the whole exactly. They get to lie back and really experience course, and whereas Clara and Eleanor are just like,
he's feeding
pure, feeding pure frenzy. You need that to survive.
Is this comparison going to be a class war then? Are we going to have is there a class divide between these two sets of vampires? Is that
very much so?
Could that?
But I feel like Eve would be wonderful to Clara and Eleanor.
She would welcome her. She would love her.
Absolutely. There's a
full of compassion and say, hey, let's see what we can do to make it so you don't have to live like this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you choose to live like this. But you have options now.
Yeah, that like, oh yes, Tonya. Like, there's a bit when she sees a plant in Detroit at Adam's house, and I've never wanted to be a plant more in my life. I was like, I want to be that plant. She's like, yeah, you go, little plant. You're not supposed to be here, but you go. Look at you flourishing. And I was like, why don't I this plant that Eve is talking?
She's so nurturing to just everything, to life. She appreciates life. She appreciates all of these things. She's not bored with it. She's been here longer than all of us. And she still finds things that excite her.
Like when she goes with Adam and he's showing her these old decrepit buildings that are now car park, and it's like, this used to be this. Like, you, in so many other couples, the other person would be like, great. And she's not, she takes all in when he drives her around Detroit. She's excited by it because he cares. Yeah. And because he wants to talk about it. Yeah.
It's the only time he smiles too, is when they're dealing with that. His character does not smile, but being with her, talking about these things and her reaction, it made him smile.
This is what I want in a relationship. Much like Adam, I want to talk about random Marvel characters and someone go, I love hearing about Ego the Living Planet. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me about the human race.
Well, Megan's taken.
That's true. So that's true. But even I'm sure even Megan reaches a limit at some point.
I don't know though. Like, you know, Kevin plays the ukulele, he plays the guitar, and he'll be doing something and I'll ask him about it. And he goes, do you really want to know? I was like, of course I do, otherwise I wouldn't ask. And I like sitting there and listening because he's passionate about it. I talked about this with Paul a millennia ago on like Era of Geek. I think when somebody, whether it's a friend or a lover or a life partner or like a sibling or whatever, or just a random person, like really into something, it really means something to them. I want to listen to it. I find that so interesting. I want to listen. I don't want to wait for my turn to speak. I just want to be like, yes, tell me. I won't remember it all.
Give me your passion. Share it with
me. Absolutely. And I did feel a little sad after watching this film because not only did we lose John Hurt, but we also lost Anton Yelchin. I think they're both wonderful in this film as well. Really lovely performances, and it's just like I just came out of it going, and they both die in the film as well. So it was
that's what I thought you meant at first, and then you said Anton. I was like, oh no, he meant the real people.
Yeah, I meant the real people and the characters. Yep, I meant them both. So I felt sad in both instances. I'll tell you what, the most metal thing in this one is when they dump Anton Yelchin's character's body into some sort of chemical bath. I didn't see that fucking coming. And it's just like, it literally just so quickly strips away all of his skin and he just like disintegrates. And I was like, where the fuck did that come from?
That's convenient.
Like this like sleepy, like heroin addict type, you know, hipster vampires. And then all of a sudden just something out of RoboCop all of a sudden. It was crazy. It's like, okay, am I watching Byzantium again? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I, you know what? It's not a film I would necessarily go out of my way to kind of watch.
So you wouldn't drive to another state?
I wouldn't drive to another state. No, I can't say that, but. I always like to get out of my comfort zone. I always like to, try new things and experience different things and different films. I've got actually a story about this as well. So one of the elder vampire that John Hurt plays is Christopher Marlowe, who was rumored to have written Shakespeare's plays and Shakespeare stole them, which I don't really buy into that because I just think it's too far gone now. We'll never know. So why dig it up? But in this, we in the plane ride over to Detroit from Tangier, Tilda Swinton is reading a sonnet, one of the sonnets, Shakespeare's sonnets, and we were going to do this at Valentine's, which I was master of ceremonies for my friends Nathan and Hannah's wedding. And they asked me to pick some Shakespeare to read at the ceremony in the church, and I was very nervous about it. I was like, I can't remember the last time I've done any Shakespeare or acting. Shit, I hope it's all right. And then I would, during the kind of the reception, I would announce everybody and announce what was happening and announce this. And I got to pick it as well. They gave me the responsibility of picking it, which I was kind of honored to do as well, and it was lovely. And I picked that sonnet. I picked that exact same sonnet. And when I was watching, I was like, holy fucking shit. Like
of all the sonnets.
And then all the weeks to watch this film.
Right.
Happened to be the same bloody week, which was really cool. I thought it was really nice. It was a nice thing that
That's how you knew it was the right one.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, if they're going to use it in a film, it must be pretty good. I asked Tony.
The timing. That was the universe. You chose well, Daniel.
Yeah. And people really, people came up to me and said, "Oh, it's very nice, very good." It was very weird coming back down from because I went up on this pillar, and Hannah's Hannah and her family are fairly short, so there was her sister had done the speech and she'd had to have a step, so I had to awkwardly move the step away and be like, I'm not quite as short as Claire, sorry, and then go into the speech. But the weird thing is that because it was like a performance and it was Shakespeare, I don't know why, but I expected clapping, and it was so weird to awkwardly just like walk back down off this like pillar in this massive church of people watching. I was just like, and I was like smiling at the happy couple as I left. As I walked past, it was just so weird. I was just like, it's so awkward. This, not that I wanted an applause, but it just kind of feels like, oh, that's the natural thing.
But you're used to that being next. They're like, oh, well, I'll get out of the way now.
Yeah, I'm just, and it's a very short sonnet. But I was only really up there for maybe, a minute at most. But and then it was just like, okay, bye.
The actor in you. It's like, oh, I guess I'm just wired to hope for it now.
And wait. Like when you wait for the joke to land or something like that, and it doesn't.
At least you didn't say I'm pausing for applause.
Yes. I didn't follow up with ensign. Or anything like that, but no, it was a lovely ceremony. It was a beautiful day, lots of fun, and there was some humorous moments. But anyway, I'm going on a massive tangent now. I'm guilty of it too.
Well, I want to ask you both a question, which is also a tangent. So Eve and Adam are married. What do you think their wedding day was like?
Oh, she shows a picture, doesn't she? And she says 68.
I'm pretty sure they've been married more than once, and I don't know why I know that. I don't know if it's from reading the trivia or if it's from the behind the scenes because I own the movie. But I feel like that, or no, don't they say it in the film that was only one of their weddings?
Maybe I can't remember off the top.
I feel
of my
like
head.
they've been married like they have had ceremonies multiple times.
Bigamists.
And I feel this way like it's a fact, so there must be some source.
I think you're right. I recall something similar. Like, do you think they're like every century, like, let's have the wedding of the century? I feel like there'd be a small wedding, small, intimate, both looking ridiculously gorgeous.
That Eve is, I can't see it being a specific date. I think it would be more like when she has a whim, let's do it. And of course he's going to do whatever she wants because he loves her.
I want to know what happened for the sister to. They were like, "Are you still upset about the thing that happened like 86 years ago?" And
what was that?
I'm trying to do the maths, and I'm like, "Is that World War II? Is that around World War II time-ish? Maybe I don't know if there's something there, but that I like that there's no definitive.
We covered this earlier. Math is hard.
It is, especially for someone like me. But yeah, I was like, I think it's about that amount of time. But yeah, I like that there's no like definitive answers for things as well. I like that it's just like literally just throwaway comments, and I like the air of mystery or how they've
and no stupid expository dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay, there are all these questions. So let's talk to each other like we who have been married for centuries don't know anything about each other. Thank you for not doing that.
I did read actually in the trivia that initially there was some sort of conversation about how old each of them are, the two leads, and they were like, well, they've been together forever, they'll know how old each other are,
right?
So why have that fucking conversation? There's no need.
Exactly. Good call.
Yeah, I'll tell the actors, they'll know, and then they can make reference, or they'll know what they're rereferencing or talking about.
Their choices.
Absolutely, but it doesn't need to. The audience don't need to know. They're very old. We know that. They're friends with Christopher Marlowe.
Yeah. And it seemed very clear that Eve was older.
Yeah, Eve's definitely older.
Yeah, definitely.
There's just so many things like that scattered throughout. I love it when you have a couple and you don't need to be told that they're a couple. I talk about this with the most violent year all the time. Jessica Chastain, funny enough, coming back up, and Oscar Isaac. You can tell that they have been a couple for a really long time through small bits of dialogue, through ways that they touch each other. And this film's the same. And it is just the offhand comments like scattered through. So I watched it and then watched it again like the next day. And I love that it's just sort of like, there'll just be little bits that you catch and be like, oh yeah, do you remember when we were like hanging out with Nikolai? and stuff like that, like a real couple would say. And you don't go, do you remember him? That was when we met him, blah, 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 blah. And this, blah, blah, exactly what you said,
Tonya. They expressed their conversation was the way people just talk in real life, not, we need to make sure the audience knows what we are referencing
and that's it. And it treats us, the audience, with intelligence, that we don't need to know that. We don't need all the blanks filled in. All this is doing is showing us that they're a couple, how in sync they are. They've been together for a really long time. They understand each other no matter what. Distance isn't a thing for them, you know. And that's really special storytelling. It builds up them as a couple and it just feels so natural. Nothing is contrived.
I want to mention 2 bits of trivia because they both link back to you two, in fact. And podcasts that have been done, which I'm going to leave in the show notes, of course. So Tom Hiddleston and Mia, I want to say Mia Wasikowska.
Vasa, isn't it? Yeah. It's
the annoying thing is I can say Saoirse Ronan. I can't say that. and I didn't have the opportunity earlier to say Saoirse Ronan, but now I have. So they were both in Crimson Peak, which was featured in your discussion
Hearts and
Vaginas. We need to do volume 2.
Yes, I want to hear volume 2. I can't believe you haven't done one already. I have to say,
it really annoyed me that she was in that with him at first. Like when I heard about the casting, because she's so annoying.
Sign of a good actor. And also the other bit of trivia that again links back to the Femon Collective. Subscribe, like, share, do all the good things. If you haven't already, do it now. Stop listening, do it now. And they don't mention the term vampire, which, much like me and Ria's podcast, again on the Femon Collective, when we discussed Near Dark.
I have incorporated that into the manuscript that is about to go on submission. I do not mention the word vampire.
Nice.
There are references to, a glass of red. There are references to having a little treat, but not a single, and being centuries old, but nothing about the V word.
I liked in Byzantium as well. They call Gemma Arterton's character a Sucriot, which I think is
that's another phrase.
And I think it may be Caribbean in origin. I think maybe, but I've not looked into that, so I can't say 100%. But yes, anything else you guys would like to say about the film before we compare the two?
I feel like we've left out so much. We haven't talked about Ian. We haven't talked about stupid.
Well, let's talk about Ava. Yeah, let's talk about Ava. Yeah. I love how annoying she is. She's so
we didn't
annoying.
talk about when Adam and Eve reunite, which God, I love that scene. The way that is one of my favorite movie kisses because they use all of themselves. It's not just, we're just so hot for each other. They are reuniting their souls, like we've been connected over an ocean, but now we are joining, and just the sensuality of the way they touch each other and when they take off their gloves and they're just the smelling and the hair and all of it. Oh, it's so
if only all my long distance relationships worked out like that. that would be amazing if they were just that simple and easy. Just like, we've been a bit apart and now we're back together.
Well, you have to look for a Tom or a Tilda.
I do. Or a Gemma Arterton, maybe for a shorter period of time.
Well, it would be short for you.
Especially short for me, going by my record.
No, going by her, the way she is with men in the films.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's me just giving out too much personal information.
I thought that was amazing. I was like, Tonya.
See, this is the punishment.
She takes what she wants and she moves on.
God, I'm glad I'm not a ginger because I get it both barrels. One last bit of trivia though, before we go into the comparison, unless Ria has anything
about Ava. We haven't talked about Ava.
Go.
Talk more about how annoying she is.
She's really annoying.
I love that she's the annoying. Dad's like, I don't want to talk about her. She's annoying. Let's move on.
She's
here's the thing. She's supposed to be annoying.
Yeah, of course. That's why she's amazing.
Unlike Caleb Landry Jones, the bad banshee.
Frank, I think he's called Frank.
That doesn't feel right.
Oh, another thing I noticed in Byzantium is his mum is the female lead from Shaun of the Dead.
I have not seen that.
You haven't seen Shaun of the Dead?
I have not.
That is something.
Are we still
somebody has to do on a podcast.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Have you seen any of the other?
I hate people be like, oh, I can't believe you've not seen this film. But wow.
Yeah.
I like, because it was like the cultural zeitgeist for a long time. Mad. And he was called Frank, by the way. He was Caleb Landry Jones.
See how forgettable he is?
Yes, that's how funny. Right, she's annoying. Tell us how annoying she is, quick.
She just shows up and she ruins everything. She uses their stuff without permission. Just the classic annoying little sister but is definitely old enough to know better at this point.
Oh, yeah.
She's also extremely old. So why are you here breaking into their house, using their stuff, drinking their blood, not their blood in their bodies, but the blood that they have on hand for themselves, drinking their supply, breaking his instruments,
and records.
Right. Just you have ruined his collection, and some of that stuff is irreplaceable. You can't fix that kind of stuff.
And they're constantly talking about how irreplaceable and old shit is, and how amazing it is.
How important this stuff is to him. And you have absolutely no respect.
Yes.
And she killed Ian.
I guess.
But it's something about her being the chaos against even though she is old because she's a Mampa and she's Eve's younger sister. There's something about the chaos in the calm of their relationship, isn't there? It's that purposeful juxtaposition of, if they could just live their lives, they would live it, peacefully, quietly. But no matter how you live your life, what relationship you're in, there is always some sort of outside chaos that will cause a conflict. And that's what she is. She's just that chaotic mechanism of moving the story along, of showing how they deal with conflict, of showing very specifically their type of vampire, how they aren't violent as such, how it is just about existing with the human race, even though he hates us. I love it so much. And I like that. And I like that when she comes in and she causes this chaos and she causes the very minimal amount of conflict that is in this film. It isn't, it's big for them because they have to leave. He has to leave all of his music and all of his instruments. But for them, it isn't like a big action set piece. It is, we'll just go back to Tangiers and find some blood. And then it ends on... But
it wasn't that easy, and they did suffer, and he had to leave behind all of this stuff that he has gathered for years. She just came in and ruined this piece of his life.
They've got each other, and it's like when they get that, and it's not until they're removed from her that they have to do some violence to survive, which is to kill the couple at the end to feed. And that's, for me, I find that so interesting, that it's not... They don't get back to Tangier and have to go on this mad killing spree. No. They're still themselves. They're still,
But we have to survive. So there we are. It has been ordained. They're right in front of us. What are we going to do? Not accept the gift? And then they even say, we'll turn them though, right?
I'm glad it doesn't answer that question as well. I quite like the again, the uncertainty and the vagueness. Like in a lot of films, I did a podcast that I've just released today on My Soul to Take. There's a lot of vagueness in that film, and I didn't appreciate it. But it's purposeful in this. There's a reason they're vague.
It is purposeful.
And that's a whole another podcast that's already come out. So go back and listen to that. We have not got
that the filmmaker was intentional with the decisions that were made in this. It didn't feel like, oh, I didn't think about that, I left that out. Oh, I guess that would be a question. It didn't feel like no one brought these things up. It felt like maybe it was mentioned, but I made a choice and this is what I'm showing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some, smart Alec young reviewer that's like, oh, they didn't answer all the questions, and oh, that was a plot hole, and and they're completely missing the point again. And that a lot of people with critical eye on films do. Okay, comparisons. So there are 5 categories. You know them very well. So writing, acting, music, cinematography, and direction. And I can institute some tiebreakers if we need to. But let's go for it. Which film is better written?
That is such a tough one. It makes me want to look at the screenplay,
I think Only Lovers Left Alive.
Okay, why?
I think that it's the strength of the screenplay that this film is 2 and a bit hours long, and you're never bored, and the pacing feels fantastic. And I know lots of other things feed into this, the performances and the direction and editing and stuff like that. But
there is something to be said for that. You are absolutely right. You said it felt like it was 45 minutes, and I know that I was wanting more. I was in the theater when I saw it. It's like, oh, I want to see it again right now. I can't believe I have to wait however long to be able to see this movie again.
And it's the strength of the screenplay.
I felt with Byzantium. It wasn't.
Yeah,
I loved it, but it wasn't like, no, give me more. I wasn't fiending for it.
And I feel like it's the sort of screenplay that has transferred well to the screen because the screenplay is so strong. But when you were talking just now, I was going to say, like, I don't think the editor had a hard job on this film, which is actually, I think editing's an incredible skill. And so I actually want those words to come out of my mouth. But actually, I think the strength is in the initial product itself, and everything else has just enhanced it.
Very good.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I was torn when you asked the question initially, because if you look at what happens in the films, I think Byzantium follows story beats in a more traditional manner.
Yeah, I was going to say,
write screenplays. It's like, well, technically that's more textbook, that doesn't make it better though.
No,
they must have had a good framework from where to start. So I will agree with Ria that the screenplay is better on Only Lovers Left Alive.
I agree with you both. I think Tonya's point about it having a very standard story structure, again, not a bad thing. But because I'm like, oh, and now this happens, and now this will happen. I didn't predict it, but you kind of know where it's
time
go.
For this type of thing to happen, and now we get a high, and now we get a low.
And again, nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's anything particularly bad, but it is quite the standard genre vampire film that I've come to expect to see to some degree. And I think Only Lovers Left Alive just kind of throws away all the kind of standard tropes that come with the vampire genre.
And I think it's important to add that when someone throws away the traditional formatting, you have an extra challenge because they are used to following these beats. So if you're not going to do that, you better keep their interest, or they're going to think this is wrong. Something isn't working. I don't know what it is, but something's not working. And you don't feel like that when you're watching this. So it's even better than we realize.
That's what I was going to ask you, Tonya. As the writer of the group, I was going to say to you, is it harder to write something without action than, and you've just answered it.
Effectively, yes. To make it still compelling, yes. It's easy to write it, but to make it compelling and interesting, it's far more challenging.
There we go. We've got the best people to answer these questions on the podcast today.
He's not biased at all.
I'm not. Me? Why would I be biased? So next up is acting. So which group of thespians did the best job? Ria, what do you think?
I mean, it's going to be Only Lovers Left Alive because, Frank, you've ruined it.
Right.
That's it. Again, Ginger.
As much as we hated Ava, she was fantastic in her role.
She was, again, purposefully annoying. not the character we're supposed to go.
There were no duds in that film.
No.
Even the doctor supplying the blood, there were no duds.
Oh, yeah, I love him. I'm surprised he wasn't in it more because I think he's one of the best actors. Commissioner Gordon at the moment as well, or in one of the many DC universes going on at the moment. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if you either of you have any more to say or any more opinions on the acting, or is it just him? Is he just he's spoiled?
It is, because there are so many wonderful performances, especially from Gemma. Like she carried so much weight, but when you have this giant dud on screen it's like, when are we done with this part? Like, what do you mean we're keeping him? What do you mean he's getting all of these? Oh no! And then he's such an idiot. Like, oh, if she can't come in unless I invite her, I'll go outside. Please, why does he get to live?
He has two characteristics. He fancies Saoirse Ronan, and he's got a blood problem. That's it.
He's an idiot.
And he gets to be a vampire.
Right. It's just so... I think that the outcome for both of the annoying characters is unfair, because all she gets is kicked out.
Yeah.
However, she gets a punishment. She gets something. He gets a reward.
I did like that line where she's like, "Oh, go!" When she's leaving, she's kicked out of the house. Go fuck each other. I thought they were going to turn around and be like, "Bong chicka bong bong," and then actually, like, and then actually go out. But
we have to deal with this body.
That's how I write films. You see, not as good as Only Left Alive.
Not a comedy.
No, exactly. That's how I see everything. That's how I view everything.
Very real problems, Dan.
I know. Sorry. How
are we going to make love when there's this body here? We need to dispose of him before.
They're vampires. They'll be fine with it. It's just death. It's just something.
And all the people in the club saw them with him, which also Ava's fault.
So yeah, I think we can all unanimously agree that Only Love Is Left Alive wins the second round.
I will say that the best performance was Gemma in that scene where she's going after her daughter.
Great.
But film for film, as a whole, Only Lovers Left Alive.
Stronger ensemble. But I agree. I think Gemma Arterton is especially, that's what you're watching the film for. Yeah, that's what you're watching Byzantium for, is that performance.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Okay, next one will be interesting. Music.
Only Lovers Left Alive. There are great songs in Byzantium, but I don't listen to the entire soundtrack. There are maybe 2 songs that I listen to, where I have the entire soundtrack and listen to it frequently on Only Lovers Left Alive.
Ria.
Yeah, no contest. Only Lovers Left. I mean, if it wasn't, then the whole film would fall apart, considering Adam's whole thing is music.
True.
But even when it's not his music, even when it's at the end, the woman of the couple singing and she's trying to find him a guitar and stuff like that, all that music's fantastic as well.
Yeah, I fancied that singer as well. Definitely fancied that singer.
Yeah, I think part of that is that Jim Jarmusch is a musician, and he gets it on that level.
I think I read that he describes himself as a cultural sponge. So that's why there's all these references to all these people and characters and work and music and literary sources. And I kind of want to look into those a bit more, which is nice. It's very rare that I'll see something, I'll go, you know what, maybe I should read Shelley's Vampire, or maybe I should look at Nikola Tesla.
I've read it this year, but that's because I'm doing all this research for the vampire projects that I'm working on right now.
Well, I mean, and this could be,
and I've already read it, but I went through it again.
Oh yeah, and well, like you said, we could be doing a stream of vampire products as well, podcasts.
Yes.
So we'll have to see. Yeah, I agree. It's not a hard decision. I agree. I honestly, it's been a little bit longer since I watched Byzantium, but I watched a few clips and things today just to refresh my memory, and I can't remember the score or any of the particular songs.
The main theme is nice, and then one of the songs played on the piano that the name of it is escaping me. I know it. I absolutely know the name of the song.
I've got it. I've got it here. It is Ludwig van Beethoven's Complicated Piano Sonata Opus 2, number 3. I mean, what a title!
He's great at naming his songs.
Yeah, music.
Very inventive with that.
Music's your strong suit. Maybe not titles. The nice ditty.
He should get together with the brethren and just name things.
Let's name some stuff together. Also, Saoirse Ronan learned that whole piece of music and played it herself, and learned it in 12 weeks.
Wow,
which is
that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. But that music's rubbish. Only Lovers Left Alive.
Not rubbish. They can both be great. One's just way better.
True. No, that is true. Okay. Cinematography. Tonya, what do you think?
I'm still going to have to go with Only Lovers Left Alive. And I didn't think that I would lean that hard. But that's one of the things I love about this film is the way it looks. The color scheme, just the way it plays out on screen, where there are a few moments in Byzantium where like, oh, that was awesome. Like the blood coming out of the cave mountain. Like there are moments where it's fantastic on screen, but the whole feel of that movie, of Only Lovers Left Alive, I just want to be with it forever.
Yeah,
strong feelings, very strong.
Agreed. Like there's so many beautiful scenes in Byzantium. The fairground is stunningly done. Like what you said with the blood coming out of the mountain, the cave. Even that is like wonderful. Like not only have they found a fantastic location, but shot it so beautifully. The scenes, great set design. The scenes with Saoirse Ronan's character, with Eleanor, the beach is that beach is beautiful. I feel like everything's very intentional in Byzantium, which is great, but everything feels so much more organic and Only Lovers Left Alive that you don't notice the cinematography because it's so good.
It's weird. I want to describe it as velvety, kind of like it's a soft,
like red velvet,
comfortable feel. It's warm. I like being there. Yeah, there's something about it. Obviously, Byzantium is meant to be very cold and harsh, and we're at the seaside, the cold, bracing wind.
There are still stunning visuals.
Oh, absolutely. No, I agree, but it's a very different atmosphere, and it is still very effective. Again, I recommend seeing both of these films. I think they are both excellent. But yeah, I think, again, I liked being in the world of Only Lovers Left Alive. I liked the feel. I liked the comfortability of it.
Yeah. This is why I didn't want you to watch it when you were sleep deprived. It's like, no, you need to experience this film like in a sitting and just immerse in it. You can't watch it.
I would have fallen asleep because I was that comfortable. I'm like, oh, this is great. Oh, yeah. That's the problem. Oh, so I wonder... This is the last category. Who could possibly win this Clone Wars? It's up for grabs. Direction. What do we think? Who or which film was better directed? Is it Neil Jordan, who's very, very good at what he does, or Jim Jarmusch?
We all know the answer, don't we? This doesn't mean Byzantium's bad at all.
No,
it's not.
No.
Go and watch it. Well, I mean, don't listen to us if you haven't watched it because we're ruining it all. But Only Lovers Left Alive is.
When we're talking about the performances, when we went performance for performance, there's a reason. And I have to say that the director is the one that creates that setting and leads them to this success. So if we have one giant dud, that means the director did not pull that level of performance out of him the way he did with the others. And it may have been tougher. Maybe they brought their A game and he just kind of showed up a little bit. But overall, the entire success of the film, it's no one person, but the director gets the brunt of the blame or the praise.
So I think we're going to have a tiebreaker as well. I can't believe this.
I am upset that I didn't choose Byzantium for any of them. And I want some of my answers to be different.
You're a bit like Dennis in the last podcast. He was so angry that the result came out. He's like, yeah, but I prefer this other film. This film I had more fun with. I was like, yeah, but is it the better film? And he's like,
I don't prefer it.
I don't think it's about a better, I don't think it's about it being a better film. I think they're very different. I think
they're different.
You wouldn't get Jim Jarmusch to direct Byzantium.
No,
that wouldn't work. And that's why
I would love to see it though.
It would be hilarious, and I think if you're looking for a genre film that goes a bit deeper, that's got a slightly different take to the Victorian vampire story, then Byzantium is 100% that film. And Gemma Arterson's performance, she's in a film with Saoirse Ronan, who is a sensational actress. But
the fact that you're paying attention to her.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say
that doesn't. But comparing it to Only Lovers Left Alive, which is very different, is almost not a fair comparison.
I will say it did take me a little bit of time to come up with those reasons for comparison as well. I think initially I was like, oh yeah, because they kept coming up when I would look at one of them. The other one would kept coming up when in the articles or in reviews, because I think, again, they both came out very similar times. But I was like, I think there's enough here for a comparison.
Well, they are different takes on the vampire story.
They are. It's okay. We were both excited to talk.
I know. Sorry.
We were supposed to talk about 2 other movies, and you kept considering changing them. And I was like, no, let's do it. As long as Ria's fine with it, I'll do it. I'll whatever the problem is, we'll talk about the problem.
Sure.
We'll do it. And then you're like, what about these? Oh my gosh, like my 2 favorite vampires.
Why did you mention those? It's fine.
I can only resist so long.
It's all right. We can go back. Obviously, we've discussed it. We won't go into it now, but there's something we need to address before we watch those particular 2 films,
right?
Specifically, one of the films. But it's something we can do. We just put it on the back burner. I loved both of these, so I'm very glad we did both of those. But the winner has to be a winner, and it is Only Lovers Left Alive, and that film is the only film left alive. So that was a push. That was a reacher. Anyway, guys, again, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I loved hearing all of these wonderful stories as well, especially Tonya's story about Belle as well was really, really touching, really beautiful story. And yeah, it's been fantastic. And we will have to do this very, very, very soon again. Whatever we do, vampires or not, I'm here for it. But you guys have recently come together with various other content creators out there, wonderful content creators, bringing together. Femme on Film became the Femme on Collective very recently, and I am absolutely loving it. I enjoy every bit of content that's coming out. All of you guys are doing an amazing job. I am loving it. Where can people find you on social media? Where can you find the podcast? All that good stuff. I will go with Ria first.
She's the producer.
Really?
Well, thank you. So our website is femon.show, so come and find us there. You'll find all about Tonya and I and our co-hosts and basically what it is that we're trying to do with the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, which is Femon Collective. That's where we're posting all of our content that's coming out, reels and clips from the conversations that we're having. They're the main places, but mostly come and listen. If you want to come on any of our shows, I mean, first of all, listen, you'll know what they're all about. But then please do approach us to come on.
We do this with the female gaze in mind.
Yes.
Female gaze shows out there. It doesn't mean that you have to be a woman, but you need to understand what show that you will be on. And I think that's why Tony is the first male guest we've had, because he is a straight up feminist.
Yep. Oh yeah.
He's got a degree or PhD in it. I can't remember. Something. He has some sort of academic.
And for those who don't know, that is A.R. Farini, who has a book coming out this summer.
Yes.
Keep an eye on him.
Well, actually, talking about Tony, Only Lovers Left Alive, when Eve says she's like, but I have to leave my books when she's going to Detroit and doesn't know what books to take. It made me think of Tony and Lee. Like when I was watching it, I was like, that is Tony and Lee. That's what they would be like if they had to just like pack up and leave, and they'd be like running their hands over their books and trying to decide which ones to take.
Yeah. Well, I thought about Tony as well in regards to the music and the detail and the information he knows, and he is coming on the podcast very, very soon, and we'll be talking about a comic book, a Spider-Man comic book, in fact. So we'll do some promoting of his book then. But we're not here to talk about Tony as much as we love him. Tonya, as well, you've got places that you can be found in the public online world. Where are those?
Well, of course, it's as part of the Femon Collective. I have joined forces with Tony, and we do Sonic Salon, which is a place for creatives to come and share their written work, whether it's poetry, essays, short stories, maybe a snippet from your novel. And we invite writers of all different varieties to share their work there. And if you don't feel comfortable reading your own work, we have actors who will read it for you. So if you're an actor and you want to share your gift in that way, you can contact us through the Sonic Salon. Please like, share, and subscribe that, as well as Spider Dan Show and Femon Collective. And then you can just find me on social media at Ms. Tonya Todd.
Of course, all the links and everything will be in the show notes. If you don't want to try hunting or remembering all this information, I'll have it there for you. Not quite as good as Mike Burton's from Genuine Chit Chat, but
no, it's
second best. Second best. It's inspired by his work. So my show notes.
He's doing his part in the world by setting a great example for all of us to aspire to do so well with our show notes.
Exactly, and your show as well. Many more inspiring podcasts, I'm sure, will come out just after hearing yours, and opinions and guests. You name it. It's all good stuff. Positivity. Okay, we made it. We did it. It's been a long time coming, but we did it. We finally made it through. So you can find me, as usual, on SpiderDan and thesecretboards.com. Review, like, share, comment, subscribe, etc. Don't forget to use the hashtag #PrepareForPrattle when you interact with us. And please subscribe to the Pop Culture Collective newsletter to find what myself, Comics in Motion, Femon Collective, and all the other great related podcasts are up to week by week. I should write more of those than I do, so I'm going to kick myself and get back on. I'm very sorry, Paul. I have been a complete mess recently, so I will crack on and do more of those. I can only
doing
apologize.
Your best, Ian.
I'm trying so hard. It's really hard at the moment.
I was sitting here impressed that you mentioned it, so I thought, oh, he did a nice plug there. So well done.
But then I also forgot about Sonic Salon, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well. So there we go.
We were talking about Tony, so it just came to mind.
True. No, that's good. But I'm glad you mentioned it, because people should subscribe to that, and it reminds me to put it in the show notes as well. Okay, and if you want to join the Prattalion and be briefed in full, go to the website I just mentioned. And I want to thank my patrons on Patreon. I am Jax Musings, Simon Cotton, Paul Mellon, Max Byrne, Scott Hodgson, Mike Burton, Angry Andy, Tonya Todd, and Tony Farina. Look at that. They're here. We're mentioning them. Everybody's here. Thank you very much for your continuing donations, especially Tonya. It is very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. I've also been bad at posting that kind of content, all that free content you're paying for. I'm rubbish. Shit. But I'm going to do something very soon for you
make
guys.
Up for it by taking care of, the little audio files.
The little audiograms.
Fan books. You know what? That pays for it.
I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven for turning up to that podcast I was co-hosting that first time. I'm forgiven. It's okay. But yes, thank you again, guys. It's been wonderful as always. Thank you for introducing me to these films as well. I hadn't seen them, so I really appreciate it. And they are an absolute blast, even though one of them, not necessarily better, but has won this particular podcast. Check them both out right now. What are you doing? Do it now. And we will see you sometime in the future. Our voices will be heard online. And MJ can look back at this and go, I was a disappointment to my mum.
I can't believe you ended with that.
Goodbye, everyone.
It was not a disappointment.
No, I'm
She's
kidding.
better than everyone,
kidding.
So
I'm
she's better
kidding.
than you. You're just jealous. You're bullying a 4-year-old because you're jealous.
I'm not bullying a 4-year-old.
Bullying a 4-year-old. Let's leave it on that.
No, you guys bullied gingers. Let's leave it on that.
I did not. I said I wanted to be one, and then I wanted to do a podcast that was listing what gingers, which is again perverted. And I'm sorry.
Again, we will pay reparations to the entire ginger people culture. Please donate to a charity. I'll leave in the show notes. Goodbye, everybody.